No, the Blue Jackets do not need to go and get Artemi Panarin from the Rangers, and I'll tell you why on today's Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, and I want to thank you guys for making us the #1 sports podcast network. Like I said at the top of the show, we have to talk about Artemi Panarin. No, we don't have to talk about him, but I want to talk about it because the rumble keeps rumbling, and I think it's a bad idea. And I want to get into why that is. And I also want to talk about tonight's game against the Ottawa Senators, which could get interesting. But we're going to start with the Panarin stuff because, frankly, it's something that I've kind of been thinking about basically since the Rangers announced that he wasn't going to re-sign, potentially before that, and I feel like it's natural. Every time there is a big free agent, like every team is like, oh, could it be us though? What if it was us though? In a vacuum, sure, I would love to have Artemi Panarin back on this team. He was incredible for us. Do I think he wanted to be here? Not particularly, but he never played in a way that suggested that, right? Like, I know people love to get on Jeff Carter's back for playing like he hated being here, etc. Like, Artemi Panarin didn't want to be here. I think he was not thrilled to be traded by the Blackhawks, even if he didn't really want to be there either. Although I don't know that it wasn't that he didn't want to be there. I think they didn't want to pay him the money that he was going to get. So they traded him. That's fine, whatever. Blue Jackets enjoyed 2 really good years of Artemi Panarin. He was great for this team, right? And when I was looking into his numbers just now, I was shocked by how good he's been for the Rangers. Like, his lowest point total in a season since arriving at the Rangers in the 2019-2020 season was 58. And he did that in the second COVID-shortened season, which was only 42 games long, and that 58 points in 42 games. His lowest full season total is 89 points in which he got last season in 80 games. He had 120 points a couple of seasons ago, 49 goals for a playmaker. Like, he has been putting up unbelievable numbers for the Rangers, and is looking to do so again this year. Now, he's on pace for 92 points in 81 games. Like, yeah, incredible player, right? I'm not disputing that he is a great player that would probably make this team better, right? Or not probably, almost certainly would make this team better, right? Like, imagine putting Artemi Panarin with Fantilli and Marchenko and having that as your top line. Like, that would be game-breakingly good, right? My reasons for not wanting him are a couple-fold. My main issue is that he is going to be really expensive to acquire. And by that, I mean he is going to cost a lot of assets. The Blue Jackets, for my money, are not in a position right now to be spending those kind of assets. This was a deal that they should have made last trade deadline, right? Instead of going out and getting Luke Cunnin or whatever, like, if the Blue Jackets had gone out and made a move like grabbing Artemi Panarin as a rental last season, I would have been like, yeah, do it. Right now, they are close to a playoff spot, like, mathematically, but they are still, like, I think second last in the Eastern Division. They got jumped by New Jersey's win against whoever they last played. And they're tied with the Senators right now, but the Senators have 4 more regulation wins, so they're above them in the standings, right? Like, the Blue Jackets are 6 points out of a playoff spot, but they have to jump Toronto, Philadelphia, Washington, Florida, New Jersey, and Ottawa to get there. Like, yes, they've been playing well. Yes, hopefully they will continue to play well. That's a big jump, and it's a big jump to make before the trade deadline, which I believe is the end of February. The timeline is all screwed up because of the Olympics. The trade deadline is March 6th. So that's what, 6 weeks-ish? But you got to remember they're taking 2 weeks off for the Olympics. So about a month. So maybe, again, I don't have the schedule exactly in front of me, but what, like 10 to 14 games between now and the trade deadline? Blue Jackets can absolutely turn it around. And maybe then they'd be in the conversation for it. But I don't think this team is consistently good enough yet to be comfortable in giving away what is going to be good assets for Artemi Panarin, right? He is a great player. His value is not as high as it could be because the Rangers were stupid enough to announce that they're just straight up not re-signing him. So every team knows that if they don't pick him up at the trade deadline, he'll be available for free in free agency, right? Yes, a team will pick him up at the trade deadline, but it's going to be a team like Tampa Bay or like Carolina or, probably Vegas somehow. One of those teams that is capable of viewing him as a pure rental and is comfortable giving away assets of that level because they know they're going to be there again next season. I think the start of this season for the Blue Jackets has shown that they are not yet a team that is going to be consistently in the conversation to be an automatic playoff team, right? Giving away assets, and it's going to be good. Like, Artemi Panarin is probably going to command a first-round pick plus stuff. I saw someone speculating that it was going to cost approximately what Quinn Hughes cost, and I don't think that's true. But it's going to be somewhere along the lines of like a first-round pick and probably a like Luca Del Bel-Belouz level player, and probably a decent roster player on top of that as well. I don't know what roster player, but like a Cole Sillinger, for example, a first-round pick and a Cole Sillinger and a Luca Del Bel-Belouz are not assets that I'm comfortable giving up for, what is likely going to be 20-ish games of Artemi Panarin. If the Blue Jackets make the playoffs, then more. But that's a lot of money. It's a lot of assets for a guy that probably won't re-sign here. And that brings me to my second point about Artemi Panarin is he gets to decide where he is going because I believe, and I'm just going to double check this, he has a full no trade built into his contract. He has a no movement clause, in fact, so he cannot be traded, sent to the minors, or put on waivers without player approval. So basically, he's going to get to decide exactly where he's going. That is, again, going to differentiate, like that's going to make the value that the Rangers get back different, because if there's only a couple of teams that he's going to be willing to go to, then, that changes things to the Rangers. But more importantly for the Blue Jackets, I don't think he wants to come here. The Blue Jackets offered him the world 6 years ago, right? And he didn't want it, which is fine and fair, and like that's his right as a player, right? I know people get mad about this, but I would much rather have a player openly say, no, I want to go somewhere else. I want to play in New York, for example, than forcing them to sign here. And maybe that's coping. I don't know. But I'm a big fan of players getting to play where they want to play because it's more fun that way for them. And frankly, I don't want anyone on my team that doesn't want to be here, right? Like it's kind of miserable to watch as well as to be. I am sure. Which comes kind of to my second-ish point of contention with this potential trade is, let's say he waives to come to Columbus. Is he going to sign an extension here? I can imagine that a team will take a risk on Artemi Panarin without having an extension in place. I don't think that should be a team like Columbus. So if you're going to go ahead and acquire a guy like Artemi Panarin, it's going to need to be with an extension in place. The extension is going to be eye-wateringly expensive because of how good Panarin is, right? Like he is a career point-a-game guy. He is, I believe, leading the Rangers in scoring by some time. I closed his stats page. So Locked on Blue Jackets, drink if you are playing that game, or bingo card if you are playing the slightly more family-friendly version. The Rangers are led in scoring by Artemi Panarin by about 9 points. He's got 56 points so far this season. In his career so far, he has got 926 points in 801 games. So, chances are he hits 1,000 points, if not this season, very early next season, which for a guy that's only been in the league since, 2016 is really impressive. Looking at his points numbers, and I know that he came into the league as, a 25-year-old or whatever it was, a 24-year-old, but 77, 74, 82, 87, 95, 58 points in the COVID-shortened season. Also, he had 95 points in 69 games in the year that in the first COVID-shortened season. Insane. 90, and then again with the Rangers, 96, 92, 120, 89, and like I said, he's on pace for 90 points again this season. This is a really, really good player. Even looking at his age, he is going to command a lot of money by whoever signs him, right? I don't know necessarily that he's going to make the same $11.5 million that he made right now, but you're looking at 10 million. You're looking at north of 10 million for Panarin, probably. Blue Jackets have cap space to play with right now, but here's the thing. You want to re-sign Coyle, potentially. You want to re-sign Marchment, potentially. Adam Fantilli is going to need a big contract this summer. If they're smart about it, Denton Matejchuk is also going to get... Oh, no, sorry. He's not due until next season, so they've got a little bit of wiggle room there. But, I don't know necessarily that they want to lock up $10 million in a 34-year-old Artemi Panarin. And then, you look at, so like I said, Fantilli, you want to re-sign Coyle, you want to re-sign Marchment. Next offseason, you've got Voronkov's contract up, you've got Marchenko's contract up, Kent Johnson's contract is up, and that's when Matejchuk's contract is also up. So, potentially that's 4 pretty sizable extensions that you're going to need to do, as well as saving money the summer after that for Zach Werenski. Now, again, I know the cap is going to continue to go up and up. I think it's going to go up by another 20 million by the end of the 2027 or the end of the 2028 season, I believe. But locking up $10 million for the next potentially 6 or 7 years, because Panarin is probably going to sign max term and max amount, right? Because why wouldn't he? He's 34. This is his last chance for a big payday. That's a lot of money to lock up to someone who is 34 years old. Plus, chances are he won't extend here, right? He might accept a trade here, depending on how the Blue Jackets look, if they manage to turn this season around, and if they, if they win every game between now and the trade deadline, and suddenly they're challenging for Colorado for the President's Trophy or whatever, then yeah, he might turn around and accept a trade here. But I don't know that he's going to accept a long-term deal here, because yeah, he's in a different part of his life than he was back then. But I still don't know if Columbus is the kind of town that's going to attract someone like Artemi Panarin. So those are my real reasons. Is it's going to be expensive to acquire him. It's going to be expensive to keep him. And I frankly don't know that he wants to be here at all. So while it's nice to imagine, yeah, I would love to have Artemi Panarin on that line with Marchenko and Fantilli. That line would make everybody who is not a Blue Jackets fan cry forever. I just don't think it's likely, and I don't think it's feasible to spend the assets necessary to make this happen when there is such a low success rate of it happening beyond the 20 games or so that he would play for the rest of this season. So that's my opinion on the Artemi Panarin trade, or potential Artemi Panarin trade. We'll take a quick break, and then when we get back, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators, who are going through it at the minute, I think is fair to say. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about game time. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it is unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets, long queues, endless screens, prices changing at checkout, and that's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I've used every ticketing app under the sun to get NHL tickets, and Game Time is by far my favorite. I use it when I'm in San Jose, which I am, frequently. I used it when I was in Montreal for a preseason game. I used it when I was in Toronto for both Leafs games and Marlies games, and it was super easy to use. It took about a minute and a half to find a great ticket and get to checkout. It was cheaper than on other ticketing apps because we checked, we price matched because that's the kind of people that we are. And the fees are included up front as well. So the price you see is the price you pay, which I love. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day every single day. And thanks for making us the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the Everydayers Club. You get access to ad-free episodes for just $5 a month or $50 a year, which I love. That's compatible with every podcasting app you can think of, Apple, Spotify, etc., etc. You also get access to the members-only Discord server, which is basically just a group chat for listeners of this show. And you also have a link to an exclusive Locked On merch store as well, which I think is pretty cool. Go to lockedonbluejacket.supercast.com to learn more, or tap the link in the show notes. But $5 a month to escape from ad fatigue is pretty good in my books. So go check out the Everydayers Club if that's something that you think you might enjoy. Let's talk about the Ottawa Senators, because they sure are. I feel like started the season really strong and have just been completely and utterly failed by their goaltending. I saw a really damning couple of graphs the other day, or a couple of charts by Jay Fresh, and he basically charted which team was allowing the fewest expected goals against. So basically, how much offense were they not allowing to other teams, and they were the best in the league at expected goals against. So how many goals they are expected to allow, and they are expected to allow basically fewer goals than every other team in the league. And then they looked at goals saved above expected, and they've allowed like 30 goals more than they should have this season. I don't have the standings in front of me because, again, shockingly, I closed them when I had them open before. But they are somehow only a -4 goal differential, because I think basically they've been outscoring their goaltending for a long time. They've scored 159 goals and allowed 163. So I believe that's the most of any. They've allowed, only two teams in the East have allowed more goals, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. League overall, there's also the St. Louis Blues have allowed more goals as well. So they've allowed more goals than all but 3 other teams in the league, but they're scoring at a really good rate as well. Again, like the teams that have outscored them, the Maple Leafs, the Bruins, the Hurricanes, the Canadiens, Tampa Bay. That's it for Eastern teams, despite the fact that the Ottawa Senators are last in the Atlantic Division, right next to the Blue Jackets in the standings, actually. They're ahead of them, like I mentioned, because they are leading in regulation wins right now. Of their 22 wins, 17 of them have come in regulation. Only 13 of the Blue Jackets' 22 wins have come in regulation. But they are at a point where they have identical records, which I think is fun. 22, 19, and 7, and 51 points in 48 games played. So this is a massive game for the Blue Jackets. If they win, they get to jump the Senators. They get to jump the Devils. They tie with the Florida Panthers in points. If they lose, then they stay where they are. Ottawa gets to move up, and the Blue Jackets are still in danger, not in imminent danger of being passed by the Rangers, who lost last night, but they are still in danger. And this division is so wild. You have to basically win every game to make up any kind of ground, right? Like, the Blue Jackets are on a 4-game winning streak right now, and they still haven't gained any ground, if at all, So big game tonight. They need to win. Blue Jackets have played reasonably well against the Senators so far this season. Like, that 6-3 game looks ugly, but that was Elvis Merzlikins having a meltdown in the first 4 minutes of the game, allowing 3 goals on 5 shots, getting pulled. And then the rest of the game, the Blue Jackets actually outscored the Senators 3-2 until an empty net goal went in. So that's what it was. 6-3 is 3 goals on Elvis, 2 goals on Jet, and then an empty net goal. The Blue Jackets won the next game they played against them, 4-1, which was 2 weeks ago, I think. Part of the post-Christmas good times before things started getting bad in January again. So we know that this team is capable of winning against the Senators. And frankly, if the Blue Jackets can continue to score, things look good. So it looks like it sounds like it's going to be James Reimer in net for the Senators, which feels wild. I get Linus Ullmark is out for personal reasons at the minute, and they don't really have a capable backup for him. By which I mean the guy that they thrust into the starter role in his rookie season probably wasn't quite ready for that, based on his diabolical stats. They've actually sent him to Belleville in the AHL. They've called up Hunter Shepard, who Blue Jackets fans will know as the goalie that was in net for that 7-0 game against Washington at the end of last season, where Jet Greaves, I believe that was his first career shutout. So love to see that, but we won't be facing Hunter Shepard tonight. It's going to be James Reimer, who played in 1 game so far this season, has allowed 4 goals, was an overtime loss, and had an .882 save percentage. It tells you a lot about how Senators goaltending is going, that everyone has been like, man, the goaltending was so much better. They're going to win games with goaltending like that, because the goaltending has just been so brutal. Even with Ullmark back, the goaltending for the Senators hasn't been what they need it to be. So that being said, James Reimer in his last couple of games has played well against the Blue Jackets. He played when he was with Buffalo last season twice. One was a loss where he allowed 3 goals on 30 shots, so still had a .900 save percentage. And then one was on February 4th, 2 goals on 29 shots for the win. That was the game where Kent Johnson scored that disgusting backhand goal that still gets played on highlight reels. So I would love to see another one of those from KJ tonight. But so that's, over his last 2 games, that's what, a .915 save percentage, give or take, against the Blue Jackets for James Reimer. So if he locks in again tonight, now he hasn't played a ton this season. Like I said, that was his only NHL action of the season, and I believe he got 2 or 3 games in the AHL. I'm just going to see if I can pull up his AHL stats real quick, because, like I said, he I think not unofficially, but he semi-retired right up until I think a team was like, "Oh God, we need a goalie. Please come and be our goalie." In terms of goalies for Belleville, he played 1 game for them. It didn't go super great. He allowed 6 goals on 28 shots, and somehow again they still lost in overtime. So he's actually hasn't lost in regulation this season, despite allowing 10 goals over 2 games, which is the wild. So again, 2 professional games so far this season, and is, I want to say 36 or 37 years old. So definitely on the wrong side of 35 for a goalie, which obviously all of this adding together means he's going to have the game of his life tonight. Elvis has been good for the last couple of games. I'm surprised he's starting again tonight. And I wonder just how exhausted Jet Greaves is that the coaching is deciding not to play him, right? And again, I don't know the inner workings of Rick Bowness. I don't know. I know that he said that what the goalie coaches are telling him. And I wonder if the goalie coaches are like, yeah, this kid is exhausted. Give him a break. You don't want him to get too cold. If we're not seeing Jet tonight, then I want to see him on, I think Thursday is the next game, against, I want to say the Red Wings. Maybe I'm making that up. But the point I'm making is, if we don't see, and we're not seeing Jet tonight, we're seeing Elvis tonight. I want to see Jet sometime this week. right? We're playing Dallas, not the Red Wings. I don't know where I got Detroit from. So Thursday is Detroit. Saturday is Tampa Bay. And then Monday is LA. And then Wednesday is Philadelphia. And that's your homestand. So that's frankly 4 winnable games. And then Tampa Bay is also there. So again, I would love to see Jet against Dallas. I don't want him to sit for longer than 4 games, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One is I think he'll get cold, and the other reason is Elvis is not a goalie that responds well to playing a lot. So yeah, it's great that he's playing well at the minute. Go with the hot hand. I feel like 4 or 5 games in a row is really where Elvis starts to break down, and that's why it's important to have 2 goalies that you can play. And again, I don't know if this is playing him to like potentially up his trade value, because obviously there are teams out there that need goalies. Like I'm sure the Senators would be begging for Elvis Merzlikins' save percentage right now, which is still only an 884, but is, I believe, higher than any other Senators goalie in the organization this season, right? And if he keeps winning, then that's gonna go up. So I don't love the choice to start Elvis tonight, but I understand it. Mostly I just want to see Jet Greaves get back into the rotation sooner rather than later, because that's the point of having 2 good goalies, is that you're supposed to be able to go, rotate between them. And frankly, Jet Greaves has outperformed Elvis by quite a big margin this season. So I'm interested in why this is going the way that it is right now. In terms of like general team stuff, the Senators score a lot of goals. They also give up a lot of goals. Like I've already talked about that, but they are 10th in the league in goals for per game. They have the 7th best power play in the league right now. On the flip side, their penalty kill is even worse than the Blue Jackets, and they are 29th in the league in goals against per game. Blue Jackets have snuck up to 24th. I feel like they were hovering at around about 30 for a long time there, but they are close to the middle of the league in goals against per game, which is very exciting. And it's kind of upsetting to be excited by being 24th in the league in goals against per game, but hopefully they keep that up, right? In terms of players to pay attention to, Jake Sanderson has got 7 points in his last 5 games. Dylan Cousins has got 3 goals in his last 5 games. And Brady Tkachuk has come back from injury with a vengeance, I guess. He's got 27 points in 28 games. Has missed like a bunch of the season with like, was it a broken hand or something? He's been back since, like, when is he? I mean, okay, so he's been back for a while, actually. I always feel like he missed a bunch of time, but actually he's been back since like the end of November. He missed about 6 weeks between mid-October and end of November. But like in his last 3 games, he's got 6 points, including a 4-point night against the Rangers. So again, he's not playing a ton either, which is wild. Like he played 16-42 against Detroit. He played 16-14 against Montreal. He played 13-17 in that game against the Rangers. Like he hasn't hit 20 minutes since December 15th, where he played 21 minutes, which is kind of wild for ostensibly your like first line winger. So I don't know what's going on there. But he's always dangerous, right? Like he's always a guy to watch. His point totals don't look impressive on account of the fact that he missed, 20 games or whatever. But he's almost a point a game player, which would put him on pace for being second or third on this team in scoring. Tim Stützle leading the way with 49 points in 48 games. Drake Batterson right behind him with 44 points in 45 games. And then on defense, again, like I've just mentioned, Jake Sanderson has got 39 points in 48 games, which is like no Zach Werenski, but still pretty good for a defenseman, right? They've got a lot of good players. The Senators are a fascinating team because I really do feel like they are a team that is less than the sum of their parts somehow, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. So if any Senators fans are listening, like I like your team. I think it's a great team. I don't understand why they haven't been able to put it together, and I do genuinely think it is just that it is goaltending is sinking them, because this is a team that should be way higher in the standings, and a team that should be performing way better than they are. So that feels dangerous for Blue Jackets, right? Like this, it's not a trap game necessarily, but this feels like a game that it's going to be easy to get out of hand. Blue Jackets, obviously, they want to keep that win streak going. Senators, they want to start winning again. They are on a 2-game losing streak right now. They lost in overtime to both Detroit and Montreal. And then before that, they had two wins in a row against New York and Vancouver, and then 4 regulation losses in a row to Florida, Colorado, Utah, and Detroit. So, like, again, a real up and down kind of last stretch of the season for the Senators. But the Blue Jackets, they can be in this game. They can do good things. Like they can do all sorts of good things. I am worried about the defense, which I talked about kind of at length yesterday. But no Matejchuk and no Fabro means that you've got a top pairing that I think is fine, a second pairing that I think is going to be an adventure, and a third pairing that is just kind of there. So it's gonna be an interesting one. The forwards I have no real trouble with. I still don't really understand Voronkov on the 4th line. And I don't know. I feel like Aaron Porcelain said something about it on Twitter that I saw that was like, it's the motivation, not the destination. By which I mean, and like, I don't love demoting a player to like, and I don't think they see it as a punishment necessarily, but it feels like, well, we're going to put you on the 4th line because you're not scoring. And, I talked about this yesterday as well, is, well, I don't know how that's going to motivate them to score because they're going to get less. They're going to have to do more with less. It's the same argument that we saw with Chinikov and Kent Johnson with the Dean Everson era, right? So I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing. I don't think he has been banished to the 4th line forever, but I understand that they want to see more from Voronkov, especially recently, despite the fact that, and this is not Voronkov slander, as one of my wonderful everydayers called it yesterday. Like, I like Voronkov. I think he's a really great player. He is not a 4th line player. 1 5-on-5 point in the last 6 games, I think, is relevant to that, and like, yeah, you can point to Fantilli also not having points in that stretch. And yeah, I do think Fantilli does need to be better. I don't think it's for lack of trying from Fantilli. He's got 3 assists in his last 4 games. Hasn't scored since that overtime winner in December. So it's been about a month since his last goal, which is not great. But like, since his last goal, he's had like, there's only 1 game where he hasn't had a shot on goal, and that was the January 8th game against Vegas. Every other game, he's had at least 1 shot on goal, and usually 3 or above. So in the game since that goal, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those games, he's had 2 shots on goal or fewer. In every other game, he's had 3 or above, including 1 game where he had 8 shots on goal, and that was the Islanders game, where they ended up winning it short notice. So like, again, like, I don't think it's for lack of trying from Fantilli, and I'm not saying that it's not for lack of trying on Voronkov's part. And I do wonder if this is kind of a conditioning thing that's coming back into it, but I understand that they need more from Voronkov. I don't know if this is the best way to go about it, but and I would still flip him and Sillinger and put him back on that top line. Like, this is, that's what I would do personally, is I think if you want to get him going, put him with guys like Marchenko and Fantilli, who we know he works well with, instead of putting him on the 4th line to play like 10 minutes a night and probably not do a lot with those 10 minutes. But that's just me, and that's why I am not an NHL head coach. Let's talk about predictions. I am going to return to my Adam Fantilli cyberbullying, I think, because the dude's got to score a goal sooner or later. It's been a million years. So we're going to say an Adam Fantilli goal, and we're going to say, let's say a 5-2 Blue Jackets win, I think. I think that would be fun. I think potentially it might be a little bit more high scoring than that. I don't know which Elvis we're going to get yet. Hopefully we'll get the good Elvis that we've got the last couple of games. But typically we get good Elvis for 2 or 3 games and then bad Elvis for a couple of games and then good Elvis and then bad Elvis. And so I don't know if we're due bad Elvis yet, but I would love to see a good game from Elvis tonight. So that's why I'm going to go with 5-2. To the Blue Jackets. I think I would love to see them take advantage of an extremely rusty James Reimer. Yes, the Senators are a very good defensive team, but the Blue Jackets are pretty good at generating their own offense. Hopefully they can figure that out. Every day is, you know the drill. Get your predictions down below in the YouTube comments, or there's going to be a tweet going up probably as this episode goes live, if not a little bit after it. Anytime Blue Jackets goal scorer, which for a rules clarification, someone asked me in the comments, I am not counting shootout goals as goals because they don't appear on the season stats. That's not an in-game goal for me. So unfortunately, sorry to Z-Man Jace, who I believe picked a KJ goal in the most recent game, and he did score in the shootout, but I am not counting that as a goal. Sorry about that. But a rules clarification that I think needed saying. Empty net goals do count for this, even though empty net goals don't count in general, which I know that's maybe mixed signals that you're getting from me. But if it goes on the player's score sheet, it counts as a goal. To penalty shot goals will also count, but shootout goals will not. I'm the dictator of the predictions game, and that's my final ruling. Banging a gavel. Get your predictions in. It's going to be a tweet going up at LO_Blue Jackets, which is also where you can find everything else about this show. I will be yelling about the game over there, as I always do. Or you can find me at JAKOBFORSTER over on Blue Sky, and you can also find the show at LO-Blue Jackets on Blue Sky as well. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms. We're over on YouTube, and you can also find us at the Everydayers Club, lockedonbluejackets.supercast.com. For $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get ad-free episodes. You can get access to the exclusive Discord and access to the exclusive merch store as well. So if that's something you think you might want to spend $5 on, then please feel free to do so. I think that would be neat, and I would enjoy it greatly. But either way, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a fan of the show. Thank you for being an everydayer. And we'll talk about tonight's game in tomorrow's episode. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know the drill. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.